Do you love your wife?
Absolutely.
No. Do you ever not?
Yeah, when she leaves the cabinet doors open.
What's your thoughts on an open relationship?
What is an open relationship?
Having more than one partner at a time that your other partner or your significant other is okay with.
Totally against it.
Totally against it.
Yeah. 100%.
Why?
I can see your gears going.
No, I mean, that's a good question.
Why? Because I think everybody's different. This is what I feel like. I have no interest in that. There's value in staying with something. There's value in building something. And if you don't value those things, then don't do it. Plain and simple. Just go play around. Which I don't condone biblically, because regardless if you believe in the Bible or not, hold on. Regardless if you believe in the Bible or not, there are tons of life things that you can take from it, and you'll realize that, oh, what do you know? Oh, that makes sense. If I just do what this says, most of the time, things will work out better.
And correct me if you're wrong. You are...
Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah. Would you identify yourself as a born-again Christian?
I don't know what a born-again Christian is, but I'm not trying to make it complicated. It's just there's all these catchphrases, and people associate all these things with it.
Yeah, all right.
You know what I'm saying? So I am a Christian. That's the dog. Sorry, Chewbacca.
So you need to go outside?
He was just outside. He's just trying to be complicated. All right. I'm sorry. You could cut this later.
No, you're all right.
We'll get...
All right. Let's rewind a little bit.
Okay, the Christian thing, right?
Yeah, born again Christian. Hold on.
Let's back up.
Yeah, let's back up.
Where my point of view is first.
Well, let's back up even more. Talk about your family life, or I would say your childhood. Because you grew up a white boy in the south side of Chicago.
It's not as... It's not as
I'm not making it seem like you're I'm not making it seem like you're the Beastie Boys, but
no, I grew up on the most southwest you could get from Chicago. I was literally, if you know where the Chicago Fire Stadium is, the soccer stadium, my neighborhood's kitty corner to that, and that's literally like the line of Chicago. So I had 1 foot in Chicago, and I had 1 foot where the suburbs start for Chicago. But not to split hairs. What's your question on that, though?
But the culture of Chicago itself, and especially the stigma of Southside Chicago, definitely planted its roots inside your culture and growing up.
Yeah, environment.
Like gang culture, were you involved in?
Indirectly.
I had a lot of my friends were either they were in a gang, or they hung out with gangs, or they had run-ins with gangs. I mean, I had run-in with gangs. I had friends that were in gangs, but I honestly, like, where I lived at, it was all, I would say it was like 30% white. The majority, I think, was Hispanic, and then there was a lot of Middle Eastern right in that spot. So, and then if you went further north from where I was at, you get more African American, more Latino. So we were cultured. We had a lot of people, a lot of different groups, and then the Polish moved in later on, and they literally there's a place where I grew up around a little further south. There's a town called Burbank, and literally there's a spot that they call Little Poland, and then there's another spot where they call Little the Little Middle East.
I don't want the mic picking that up.
Sorry.
No, you're good.
No.
Yeah.
Be careful.
Yeah.
But okay. So I got the
My
culture.
OCD is coming in. All right.
I got the culture. I keep rambling and cutting off.
No, you're good. I have horrible OCD that like we're gonna film this whole thing and like one of us is gonna be out of the camera. So all right, we should be good. You're up and close with me. Okay. So you grew up not. Would you define it as the hood?
No.
So not in the hood, but
no. When you watch all the movies, and all the cliches, there are people that would think that I grew up in the hood, but if you actually talk to people that grew up in a hood, I was in a palace.
All right, hold on. All right.
were there people selling drugs, your friends, or
The people I lived with.
yeah?
I was gonna say your brother got arrested.
Right. Let's not go into names with that, okay?
Yeah, totally. But all right, your brother.
Both of my brothers.
Oh,
Both went to jail.
all right. Talk about one of their arrests.
Mm.
Or maybe the impact it had on you.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm comfortable talking about what they got arrested for because I don't have their permission.
Yeah.
But I will say one was because of a violent crime, and the other one, I think it was a combination of a violent crime and then a parole thing, and then a really bad car accident, I think is what got him in jail.
So, you've never been arrested
No, I've been arrested.
for what?
Curfew.
Curfew. Okay.
okay. We've all been
Stealing beer and, stupid stuff.
Yeah,
like
me and
that.
Christian have been arrested for ding dong ditching.
Yeah. Well,
All
almost.
right.
We ran away. Yeah.
Well, do you mean like actually been taken down to the prison?
Yeah.
Yes. I've been filed and jailed and all that stuff, and then had to get picked up and everything.
For what?
For curfew.
For curfew.
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
All right. So obviously,
And I'm not trying to vanilla ice it over here, okay? It wasn't anything to brag about. It was just a curfew thing.
so what was so different about?
Me and them,
Yes.
I kept my nose out of it. Like, where they were attracted to it, we went through a lot of crap in my house. There was a lot of dysfunction, like I was saying earlier. And I think because of, after my mom and dad got a divorce, and I was like 18 or 19, after they got divorced, my dad left. I mean, it was so rocky, and there were so many bad things going on in that house. There was so much abuse, alcohol abuse, physical abuse, and stuff like that. My brothers were really affected by it. And I still, to this day, I feel guilty that I probably got the best version of my parents because I was the oldest. So I was the firstborn, and then they were still in a good place for most of my life. And then I got a middle brother, and then I got a younger brother. Whereas you go to my youngest brother, he probably experienced the worst of it all because most of his life was a downhill.
Through the divorce.
Divorce, the fights, the abuse, all of it.
Not to make assumptions, you make it seem like a ugly kind of divorce, not very pretty.
Oh no, it was terrible.
Yeah.
It was terrible. There wasn't that, me and the ex are going to go to the Christmas play this year,
There's no divorce party. Yeah. No, I get you.
Yeah, it wasn't a celebration. No, it was pretty ugly. It was definitely necessary. This took me years to realize too. It wasn't their fault either. They were destined. When you're raised a certain way, and you guys talk about this all the time. Nurture and nature and stuff, or what is it? Nurture and
Nature versus nurture. Yeah.
Right. When you are in a certain environment that does certain things to you, you are going to become a certain thing. I mean, it's just like a flower growing in a garden. If it doesn't have enough sunlight, it's not going to grow as well as it can.
But you kind of broke those chains, right? Because you were in the same environment. I know you said that it wasn't the exact same situation as your brothers because you were the oldest, but still, you broke those chains. You got out of there. You're a successful, have a family, have a good job, have a life put together. You're going to give your children a great future. You got out of it.
Yeah.
And it's not all environment. I mean, there has to be some personal agency, right?
No, there always is. Again, back to that garden analogy. You could have two of the same flowers growing in the same environment, and one's going to grow better than the other one. They're not going to be perfectly matched. It's going to be different.
And you said it wasn't your parents' fault?
Not what they did to us, what happened to them.
Yeah, what do you mean by that?
There was terrible abuse for both of them growing up.
All right.
Okay? And again, not going to get to mention names or get into too much detail, because if they ever see this, I don't know how comfortable they are with all that.
Yeah.
But they were hurt bad. They weren't raised properly in a lot of ways. I mean, they did get a lot of good too, because some of those values trickled down to me. it wasn't all terrible stuff. I mean, you can have a very dysfunctional, bad environment home but still with love in it. I know it sounds weird, but it's true. Like, of all the terrible things that I saw, all the terrible things that happened, I never doubted that my mom or my dad, deep down, when it came down to it, loved me. And that is crucial to any child. If you take a child's mother away and they never feel that love from that mother, it is going to drastically affect them. Even all the stuff I went through, or if something happens, if that parent does something that's so atrocious, that you cannot possibly imagine that they could possibly love you from the act that they did. They never did anything like that to me, and I did feel their love. So that was something to build on. So I did get, benefit from that.
So it's more like relational dysfunction between them.
Yeah. Substance abuse. The stuff that happened to them, they didn't fix. They didn't go to therapy. Different generations. Mental therapy, nobody ever would do stuff like that. So they would self-medicate, and that never works. And things just got gradually worse. Every single year, it just got worse. I mean, when I was like 10 or 11, I remember my middle brother coming running down the block. We were playing on the corner down the block, and my brother comes running down to the corner, tears in his eyes, bawling his eyes out, saying that, mom and dad are going at it again. And I'm not going to get into the details, but physically abuse stuff. And maybe that's the reason why I got this thing with kids. It breaks my heart just thinking about the look on his face. And where was I going with that?
Do you think that seeing that had a different effect on you than it did on your brothers?
Or I was more mature.
You were more mature, yeah. So they were younger when it happened?
Yeah, I was able to process it different than them.
Yeah.
It's all, perspective,
Now, how has that affected the way you raised your kids? Because one thing that stood out when you talk about your family is your kids are homeschooled by your wife.
Yes, and partly me. I'm the official principal of the Noche Academy. I don't know if you're aware of this, but you are in the shadow of a giant right now. It was going to be the Xavier School, the gifted, but that was already taken.
So you chose to homeschool your kids?
Yeah, my oldest went to about 3 or 4 years of public schooling. My boy, he went to about 2 or 3, somewhere around there. At some point, we just realized that they weren't getting the education that we wanted. The public school system is trash in America. There's lots of good teachers, there's a lot of good people with good intentions, but on a whole, I would say it's trash.
The values that are being taught.
Not just the values. They push kids through just to make sure that they get their quota so that they can get the funding that they get. If their kids' grades aren't at a certain level, they don't get the fundings that they want or need. So if Johnny gets an F, Johnny's going to get a D so he can pass. So that on the piece of paper, it could show that they have passing students. And that is so wrong and so obnoxious. When we pulled my daughter out of homeschool, we were under the impression that she was up to snuff at the level that she was at. I mean, she was at a C level, but then when we started teaching her math, she didn't know it. I mean, she knew basic, but like the level that she should have been at, she was nowhere near it. And we had to bring her back to like 2 grades before what she was at. And that was all because we realized that she wasn't taught what she was supposed to be taught. She was pushed through, like so many students get pushed through. And usually it's the quiet ones that don't raise their voice or whatever. And I understand that the teachers, it's hard. It's a broken system, in my opinion. Okay, you got one teacher, you got 25 students. Did you ever try to teach one kid? No, I'm serious.
No, I haven't.
Have you ever tried to teach one kid?
I mean, in a general sense, yeah. Like I've tried tutoring like people. Yeah.
Okay. What were they? Kids, adults, teens? What?
I would say teens. You know, 12 to 14.
And did you feel successful at the end of it? How many did you teach?
It was usually 1 or 2 at a time, and I'd probably say went on for a year.
Okay. And would you say that was a challenge doing those 2 teens that are pretty developed at that point?
Yes.
Try doing 25 7-year-olds. Okay. It's a stupid idea.
And you add into it just the availability of technology nowadays, and we both know this being in college, how easy it is to cheat. I mean, let's just put it straight up.
Well,
Cheat or adapt.
You use Chag, you use ChatGPT. I mean, you can say adapting, but when you're having Chag do the work for you, you're not doing the work yourself.
No, you're utilizing your resources.
Utilizing your resources, but not learning the information in the process of it.
You don't need to.
You don't need to learn it. Okay.
Yeah, I can make the case that if I learn how to use ChatGPT or other AI, yeah, you laugh at this.
No, I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing at the fact that I have no idea what you're talking about.
You don't know what ChatGPT is?
But it's probably
43.
Oh my, you're 43.
Listen, and I'm tech savvy, but this AI stuff, and this is the thing about your generation. You guys have so much of this available to you now.
Yeah.
It's amazing to me.
So what you do is you come home, you have homework, you put the answer right in ChatGPT,
and AI figures it out.
It gives you the answer.
Right.
So
I mean, we can go beyond.
There is this law of least effort that is within all humans, where we all always, if we're given 2 paths, one's hard, one's easy, we're always going to pick the easy.
Right.
And that's what humans do. And now that we have all this technology at our disposal, you don't have to
have integrity. Unless you have integrity.
But I think that
No.
What's the integrity?
No, listen, hear me out.
Integrity of
One of my old friends that used to go to my church taught me a great lesson on integrity. Whenever he would drive with his family, he would go through his neighborhood and he would stop at a stop sign. Okay? No cars around, nobody coming, no cops, no cameras, nothing. He did not have to stop at the stop sign. And it drove his family nuts. I know you know where I'm going with this, but if somebody
is that integrity or is that just stupid?
Just being legal.
Just listen. He stopped. I know you know where this is going. He stopped at the stop sign regardless, and his family hated it. It drove him crazy. They would tease him about it. Go, ooh, Dad, stop it again, Mr. Perfect, But he told them, the reason why I'm doing this is because I'm teaching you integrity. Because you don't have integrity if you do the wrong thing when nobody's looking and the right thing when everyone is.
All right, now
if our society had that at their core, we wouldn't have all the problems we have now.
But I think it's also just fundamental, basic human instincts.
I was gonna say,
like what? Take the path of least resistance. I don't know if you believe.
Even if you're doing the right thing, the morally integral right thing.
How in the hell do we know what's right versus wrong?
No, but just hear me out. If you're even doing that and you've got a good path that's a little bit harder and a good path that's a little easier, yes, you're going to take even the good path you're going to take a little easier. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I agree with you.
Yeah.
But that's the difference between us and scum. That's the difference between us and corruption.
Now, hold on. Going back to your stop sign, because I have a good analogy here too.
Go ahead.
Perfect with the stop sign. I also have a stop sign that no one stops in my neighborhood. No one. I stop at it time to time. It's a rolling stop, right?
Time to
Depends
time.
on what
Time
you're
to
feeling
time.
that day.
Yeah. This one time, get to the stop sign, gonna just blow past it. I get a text from someone. The phone stopped me. Check my phone. I'm texting and driving. I stop. I don't even know I'm stopped. I looked at my phone, pick up, go. There's a cop sitting right there. It's dark out. He can't see me, but all he sees is I'm stopped at a stop sign. Texting and driving saved me from a ticket. The point that I'm trying to say...
What's the point?
The point that I'm trying to say is we kind of have to be adaptive with technology. We kind of just accept that it's in our lives. But then we grow with the integrity of that.
What does that have to do with what we're talking about? I'm not being insulted.
No.
I kind of see the point. I mean,
me using ChatGPT on an assignment, people would say that's cheating. I'm just saying that's adapted.
I get what you're saying and we do it all the time. Before AI, we did it all the time. Every time you go to the library, that's what you were doing.
Yeah, totally.
You are picking up where others' knowledge left.
Exactly.
And that's how we keep advancing as a society, is that somebody does the groundwork, we improve upon that. Okay? Yes. And AI is a form of that. So I'm not saying that if you build on that, or if you have AI do something that you don't want to do or need to do, that you're scum, like I was saying earlier. What I'm saying though, if the reason is you're just trying to get through your class and get your score, not only do you have less integrity, but now you have no knowledge. You let something else do the work for you. If you already could have done that assignment and this is a time saver for you, it's a tool. Go ahead and use that tool. Okay? AI painters, there's so many artists out there that paint, okay? Even that piece of crap right there, that was done by some artists. Okay, I should call it a piece of crap. Some artists did it, but if you compare that to like some more realistic art, it would be at a lower level in some people's eyes, okay? An AI, if you typed in the commands, could wipe the floor with that, okay? So what should we do? Should we buy that for $20 off the woman at the craft show that spent 30 hours doing that, and it's not like 1% as good as what an AI did in a millisecond?
Yeah.
Or have the AI do it?
Right.
Have the AI do it.
No, exactly. And why wouldn't you do that? Because
Exactly.
First
Why
of all,
don't we?
Right. But you can use that. But do you do it every time?
We should.
No. We
And
shouldn't.
Why?
There's something
Because where did that AI get that information from?
from humans. From all the past knowledge
The AI,
of humans.
whatever we got out there, whatever tools we have, are not going to get better if we don't try to get down to the groundwork and do the hard way ourselves as well.
And do we want to pursue perfection? I mean, think about it. Those paintings would be perfect.
No.
I think the beauty in the world is in the flaws. It's in the imperfections. That's why we watch comedy television. That's why we watch sports.
No.
If every player made every shot, you wouldn't watch a sports game. There'd be no point. The beauty is in the imperfection. And we're on this path where AI is continually making our world more perfect. You don't have to think anymore.
Right,
you just plug it into AI and it gives you the answer. What's the point of life if everything is just handed to you?
If you're not gonna learn anything.
Exactly.
Go ahead.
Carson. But not in every industry is the same, right? Even if we bring up the entertainment industry, yeah, we like seeing flaws because that's entertainment, right? That's why we have sports that are not top 10 plays. But if we bring up our
cancer,
medical beliefs, we want
well,
perfection.
not all. You don't want perfection in all medical beliefs. What if AI in 10 years says we can completely cure all pain? No one will ever feel pain again. What in the hell is the point of living anymore? You won't even know what pleasure feels like because you have nothing to compare it to.
No. I think you could just add on that. Life changes. Our technology makes our things better and easier. This is why I'm going back to it matters what the individual wants to be at the end of the day and what the individual wants to look at themselves in the mirror at, if that made any sense. If you have you have the opportunity to do perfect things, use it. Okay, but you can't use it all the time. You have to learn.
You got to grow a little bit as a human.
Grow. Yeah. You got to do things. But if you got tools that makes that easier, go ahead. This is absolutely one of the worst and beautiful, great things that's ever existed. Okay,
Yeah.
Not that, and I'm not giving it any more or any less credit than it is. This thing. I'm talking to my wife right now, okay? I could text my kids. I could tell people I love them. It's another portal for feelings and connections and relationships. Okay, it does so many cool things. It got us to 50 different places for this interview tonight.
Yeah.
I could order stuff, you know what I'm saying? I'm not going down the list. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But it's also the worst trash can that there possibly can be. There is so much garbage that could come out of this.
Yeah.
This could ruin so many lives, and it is ruining lives. So that's why the individual matters. Yeah. That's why having integrity or deciding whether you want to have integrity or not, okay? That's why that matters. That's why we can't have all these things that just do things for us, and we can't also live without them. It's a two sides of the same coin. I hate that saying because it's so cliche, but it's the truth.
I just think it's we're becoming less human. Like, think of what the phone does.
Yeah, instead of the biomechanics out there now.
Yeah, instead of perceiving the world and solving problems in the world with your own senses, all 5 of your senses are immersed on this 6-inch screen for 8 hours a day.
Right.
Is that life? Is that living?
No.
Like, what are we doing?
As we're watching us right
now. This is a very, very, very personal topic right here.
I know what's coming.
Hold on. No, yeah. So you hate the iPhone, but yet you get on me for my cracked iPhone 6 right here with the home button.
Because
That's hilarious. My wife will not give that home button up.
Exactly.
Because we have a podcast, and the reason why there's only one angle is because you have that phone.
I have the new flip phone. I'm fine with that. I don't care.
Okay, yeah, no. In that aspect, I respect you for it, for like trying to be old school and try to like stay off your phone. That's good.
Yeah.
But for the aspect where we have a podcast, like it would be nice to have 2 cameras. That's all I'm gonna say.
Why do you keep that?
That more laziness. I see the utility of it. Like fits all my needs. I don't need anything more special in it. I don't need this high definition camera. I don't need the video.
You do need the high definition camera.
Wait. Okay, all right. You made your point. Why do you think you should get a new one?
Before we started this podcast, I didn't care. But now that we have this podcast, it would be nice to have 2 angles. And because he has an iPhone made in the Stone Age, the camera's absolutely horrible. So we can't have 2 cameras.
So do you see the difference? What does he see that you don't see? Or no,
I see a side too.
What does he see that you don't care about?
The high definition.
He values something that you
I
don't.
feel like we're at a therapy session.
It's true though. He values what it can do, what the new stuff can do. You don't have as much value in it as he does. It's the same thing with me and my wife. I tell her, do you like looking through cheese filters? Because you're 4S or 4E or whatever it is with your home button, or she probably has the same model you have.
Yeah.
It's so laggy, it's so trashy, it's slow, and all that stuff.
Totally.
And she doesn't care.
No.
Because it still works, she can still make calls, and she doesn't put any value in the newer stuff.
No.
Okay?
No need.
So essentially, it's always comes back to the individual. It's always what you want.
And that's why I think individual choice, especially when we're getting to this new frontier with all this new technology, you always have to allow individuals to make their own choices on things.
Yes. Absolutely.
I want to boomerang back to one more question on homeschooling.
Sure.
We talked about the negatives of public school system. I think one of maybe the only obvious benefit is the socialization that comes out of being with peers, people of different backgrounds, right? That
Yeah, no, that's
stuff.
always the cliche. That's always the stigma when homeschooled kids. And there are weird homeschool kids out there. There are. I've met them.
Are your kids weird?
No, they're not the weirdos.
If you
But
went to
you are.
I'm not biased on this either.
Okay, all right.
I've never met them, so I have no idea.
I met them.
It's your job. Well, you're a parent, okay? And if you value your children, you will do everything you can to give them everything they need to nurture them correctly. Homeschooling, we were utterly aware that they weren't going to be surrounded by all that, and we celebrated it. We could not be happier that they're not going to be embedded with all this trash culture that's out there that I don't approve of. Hold on. I know
Go ahead.
there are certain things that missed opportunities that they probably had meeting certain people. Not denying that. But we made sure that they had friends. We made sure, like, we bring them to the church, and there's a huge community of kids there, okay? There are extra activities for homeschoolers because of this. Like, every Wednesday, they go to a music class, and they hang out with kids that they've never met before. You know, it doesn't regulate that much, but the randomness can be there, and they can meet new people. And then also, it's not like it's 1564 where we're in a farm in the middle of nowhere, and the next guy is 300,000 miles away.
True.
There's people everywhere.
But let me get this one point.
Yeah.
My one counterpoint would be, you're trying to protect them to some degree from the craziness that our culture has devolved into.
Right.
They're eventually going to have to confront that. I mean, they're going to leave this house eventually, and they're going to be in the world. Do you ever worry that not exposing it to them at a young age, when you're there to mentor them, will keep them unprepared for when they confront it when they're older?
That's exactly what I'm doing. That's exactly what I've done from the beginning. I prepare them. That's 100% what I do every day. I tell them about the things that are out there. I tell them about the big scary monsters with the razor sharp teeth that are out there.
Do they experience the big scary monsters?
No, I prepare them. Okay, listen. When a soldier goes to war, have they ever? I mean, if they just come out of boot camp, okay, and there is currently war going on, they come out of that boot camp. I don't know all the process of it, but eventually they get to their feet on that ground to that war. They've never been there before. They've never experienced the culture. They don't know the people. They have the tools, they got the knowledge, and they got the preparation, okay? And if you pulled a 5-year-old version of that soldier and threw him on that field, he would be useless, okay? But if you brought him up, trained him right, gave him the tools, gave him everything he needed, now as an adult and as a prepared soldier, he could whoop some butt. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's exactly what I'm doing with my kids.
So are they going to go to 4-year colleges?
If they want.
Yeah.
I have no problem with them going to... well, actually, that's what we're going through right now with my daughter. Right now, she's 17, and she just got her first job. She's getting her driver's license this year. She's going through all these big adult things. She just got her bank account, checking account.
Go community college.
Well,
It's so smart.
No,
It's
there's so many. Well, there's also Christian avenues that we're looking at too. So there's colleges she could go to that focus on Christianity, but also take all the educational elements that she needs as well. So that's one of the things. I've always felt that if she had a talent that laid outside of a school like that she couldn't get at that school, we'll look into going to that school. Okay, but if she can get that in an environment that, and listen, Christian anything is not perfect. It's just like everything out there in the world, okay? I've no kids, or I know parents and kids that have gone to quote-unquote Christian schools that are so bad.
Yeah.
They've done everything that you could do out in a public school, okay? It's not this magical place, all right? But there is a beeline focus at those places that you can't find at other colleges. And that's why we're going to lean towards that, but we're also going to explore options. When you have your first child, you are a baby parent, okay? Everything you do with that first child is the first time you're doing that. All right. And so this is my first time doing this right now with her. By the time we get her through that, I'm going to have the 2 others following behind, and I'm going to be a little better equipped. Mm-hmm. So I might change things up. I might do things different. I don't know.
Can I ask you a screwed up question?
I don't know. Go for it. You can ask.
What if
hit the editing floor though?
What if your daughter or son came out as gay?
Like 100%, Dad, I'm gay. I'm a homosexual.
Yeah.
Actually, I'll put a cherry on this one. What if your son wanted to be a girl or your daughter wanted to be a girl?
So all of that.
We're going all in on it.
All of it, okay? They want to be a different race. They want to be a different gender.
There's a gay pride parade going on in your house.
Yeah, and they like the same sex. And throw some animals in there.
They're a furry too, yeah.
I love my kids no matter what, okay? I don't believe that can happen in my house. And I know that's going to make so many people mad, all right? Now, I'm not saying that I'm right 100%, but I believe I am, okay? I also know my child. I know them. There's so many parents out there that think they know their kids or say they know their kids, but they don't spend any time with them. They couldn't tell you what their favorite movie is. They couldn't tell you what their favorite hobby is. They couldn't tell you what they're interested in. They couldn't tell you what their dreams are, but yet they know their kids.
I was going to say, like, and sorry if I'm speaking for you, you're almost saying, like, this hypothetical couldn't be true because for this obvious circumstance, but, like, sorry.
I think I know where you're going.
Well, is that this hypothetical couldn't work because you know your kids and you truly know your kids.
Yeah.
If you ask this to any other parent or any other family, they could say no. They'd probably give a generic answer, but they probably don't know their kids.
Political answer.
Yes,
they'd say the same thing. They say, "I know my kids," and I think a lot of these.
Some of them.
Yeah, well, I think they think they know their kids.
Some that are talking to a camera, trying to please what the vibe is out there right now, would give you a political answer.
But I think a lot of, say, parents of transgender kids, I think it's a surprise to all of them. Like, none of them see it coming, you know?
I don't know that. I don't know that. And that's why I don't like playing these games where I talk for everybody and I know everything. this is my house. I know my kids. If my son, if I walked in and my son was wearing his sister's clothes, I would know that, or my wife would have seen it, or we would know that, and we would know, okay, this might be happening. All right, but it's not. So I know that the hypothetical there is always, let's see what this person feels or thinks about this topic. But the reality is, I know what's happening in my house. I know the environment I have. I teach my kids that everybody is worth who they are, that you should love everybody. It's in my Christian values. There are so many, there's tons of Christians out there that are, anti gay community and all that stuff and everything. And then there's the people in the gay community that absolutely hate Christians with a passion. I mean, it goes back and forth. It's completely even. I don't care what anybody says. I teach my kids that those people are just as human as you are, and they sin just as much as you do. Okay, their sin is just different. Whatever it is, whether you want to call homosexuality a sin, whether you want to call it not a sin, whatever it is, they're just as human. And I know where I feel with that, but they are human and they are loved by God just as much as we are.
And they can still go to heaven.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they're what was I going to say? My values. My values is we are commanded by God to love everybody equally. That we are supposed to try and love them no matter what, because in the Bible it does talks about homosexuality, and it does consider it a sin. Do with that however you want.
There's other sins too, and we all sin.
But in God's eyes, from my understanding, and I know there's Christians out there that will totally disagree with me, and I know that there's Christians that will completely agree with me. In my eyes, God looks at us. It says that sin is equal in His eyes. Okay, and me telling a lie about how much I weigh is the same as somebody killing somebody. Is when it comes to sin. That doesn't mean, no, I know. I'm not saying in our human world that we value these things differently.
Yeah, 100%. No, I get you.
But in God's eyes, sin is sin.
And then isn't the only precondition to get to heaven belief?
For my beliefs, it's accepting Jesus, that He died on the cross for your sins, okay? That His blood is the only thing that paid for that. That His blood if you accept Him in your heart and you admit that and you accept that His blood paid for your sins and you ask Him to save you. You got to ask Him, okay?
All right, well...
Then that's it. I'm not saying like...
Here's the hypothetical.
Go ahead.
I accept Jesus in my life.
Yeah.
I believe in Him. I follow everything.
Right.
I go over to your stove.
My wife.
I go over to your stove.
Okay.
I turn on the gas. I don't have the sparker go off. I bring over, I let it kind of fill up the room. And I bring over a lighter, and then I finally light. Your house blows up.
Okay.
Are you plotting something?
Are you going to heaven? Are you going to heaven still?
Am I going to heaven?
If you did the thing I said, okay, and everybody wonders, like, how do I know? Like, people have go through this process and they second guess themselves whether they're saved or not. Okay, there's a couple ways you can look at it. You see the fruits of the tree. Okay, what kind of fruits are you producing? If you're out there still sinning and doing all kinds of terrible things and you have absolutely no care about it, you probably didn't get saved. But that's not for me to judge. That's only for God to judge. The other thing is, the question I like to ask myself. And I just learned this recently. It's a good way of viewing it. If you do sin, okay, you read something in the Bible and you know that something is a sin, and you sin and you're just waiting for the punishment, you're not in the right place with God. Because it's not about you sinning and then being punished. If you sin and you feel bad because you let Jesus down, like He's a friend, like He's a loved one, like when you do something bad to your parents that really broke their heart, there's a very good chance your heart's in the right place with God, because you actually care what He thinks about what you did. You actually feel bad about it, like when you hurt a friend or hurt a loved one.
So that's
the level you should be at.
People can transform over time, though, too, right? Like, Let me give you another hypothetical. Say Hitler on his deathbed
got saved.
Yeah, he got saved, and he truly felt sorry for all he did. Not saying he did, but say he truly did.
Yeah.
Does he go to heaven? And then just to follow up, what about someone of the Muslim faith who lives a perfect saint-like life but never believed in Jesus Christ? Do they burn in hell?
See, like I was saying earlier, God is literally looking down at all of us, and he's looking at us all as his children. John Wayne Gacy, Hitler, okay? Bring any terrible, awful example you could give me. Everybody is his son and daughter, okay? Or in between, like everybody likes to talk.
There we go.
When it's a lot easier to see this. You can be definitely empathetic to this, but when you have kids, you can definitely see this it's more clear. And I think that's another reason why we do the whole family thing. It's because God designed it like this. As a father, when I look at my children, they do different things. And if one of them ended up being a murderer or something like that, okay, it would break my heart. And then I got another one that becomes a preacher, okay? My son becomes a preacher, and he's like saving souls spreading the word of God and everything. Like polar opposites. I'm not going to love them any differently. My love is still going to be the same. I am going to be so disappointed and so heartbroken at the murderer, okay? But I'm going to love him just as much and as hard as the other one. In fact, I'm going to be praying more. I'm going to be thinking of him more, and I'm going to be devoting everything to that murderer child than I am to the preacher child, because I know I'm going to have to worry about that one more than the other one. So my love is not going to be different.
So you say
That's how God looks at it.
God views all his children the same.
Yes.
But then isn't it also the point that it's only the ones who believe in Jesus Christ get to go to heaven?
Right.
So he doesn't. I mean, what if there's a Muslim person who was never exposed to Jesus Christ? Do they just burn in hell?
If they denounce God and they don't believe in God, Jesus, okay, specifically, then yes, they're going to go to hell. And you say, well, how can you love them and then do that, right? If you had somebody that was, I just had it in my head. What was it?
You're good.
If somebody, I just totally lost it.
Talking about the Muslim who lives a perfect life but never accepts Jesus.
Okay. And anybody that's gone through any kind of difficult family members can go through this. If you've ever had a difficult family member that you've tried to help get better, okay? Like say they're an alcoholic and they do terrible things every time they get drunk. They've stolen off the family, they've broken relationships, they've done all kinds of things like that, and they've hurt you time and time again, and they literally do it till the day they die, okay? Say it's your brother. You're 89, your brother passes away at 92, and to the last moment of his life, he said he hated you. No matter how much what you did for him. But you could not save that person.
But we're not saying...
No. Here, let me wrap it up.
Are you good over here? What are you...
You want water?
No, I'm okay.
Let me connect the dots for you, what I'm saying. If God's the same way. He tries to save those people. He gives them every opportunity he can. Those Muslims, the murderers, Hitler, all of them. He gives everybody that opportunity. And as a missionary, that is like your job. You're the two guys doing the footwork on the ground, okay? When you stand up and say, I'm a Christian, your number one job after worshiping God is to go save other souls.
But what if someone's never exposed to one of those people who's trying to save?
It says in the Bible that everybody at some point sees God. He shows himself to them in some way. Now, if you're talking about the whole old theory with some guy being in a jungle, completely isolated from everybody, and he never heard of God and Jesus in his life. There's some people that believe that the Bible interprets it as that doesn't happen. God shows himself to that person on some level, some way, okay? And then there's others that believe, well, if that's the case, he is still innocent. Like babies and children.
So
that don't know the difference between right and wrong.
Yeah.
If either way...
An aborted baby. Yeah.
Right. Either way, if it's innocent, okay, if a child is innocent and they don't know the difference between right or wrong, how could they know that they're a sinner? If they don't know they're a sinner, God considers them innocent. And then he automatically just takes them into heaven. They don't have to get saved.
So then, in some respects, say a Muslim person who was never exposed to Jesus, they could also go to heaven?
He can't. That religion, because they follow that religion, if they follow that and choose that, before God, they're choosing Allah, they're choosing all that.
But a lot of it
isn't Allah Islamic for God?
Yes.
So Allah Akbar is all
Muhammad is. Do you know who Muhammad is? Their version of Jesus.
Well, hold on. A lot of people don't choose their religions necessarily. It's the families they're born into, right? So it's not their fault.
Right, I know. Yeah. And that's why it's so important to stay on track and make sure that doesn't happen to your family. That's why when Jesus came around and he spread his word and he saved everybody, that's why it became those Christians and everyone else's job to do that. Do you know the story of Lot?
L-O-T?
Yeah.
No. Sandlot.
So he goes, you ever hear the story of Sodom and Gomorrah? No, not what you're thinking.
God bless you.
So it was a city that was so wicked that it was literally caked in sin. It was their culture was to just be so sinful and without God. It was one of the worst cities.
Love to see the election for that city.
The what?
The election for that city.
Well, there was plenty of them. Oh, there was plenty of them. That's how it got worse and worse and worse, and that's what a lot of people see nowadays. Lot went to the city, and he brought his family, and God had blessed him up to that point tremendously. And he decided to go split and go to the city one day. And when he did, it corrupted everything. It corrupted his family, and because he didn't want to speak up for God, because he didn't want to cause waves, he slowly let that corruption and that sin come into his house. And it ended up taking his whole family. Okay? God sent angels down to the city and had a discussion with them that he told Lot he was going to burn the city down, that he was going to destroy it, that they're beyond reach, that there's just not one good soul in that city. Okay? And God can judge that because he is the only judge. It's not us. It's not our human judgment. So he sends angels down, and Lot brings them he sends them down to go see Lot. And while the angels are staying at Lot's home, the men outside in that city are catcalling these angels to come out so they could have sexual relations and do all these other things. Lot was so bad at that point that he actually offered his daughters to these people to kind of put this wall between God and the city, you know?
Yeah.
So instead of standing up and doing, casting them away, he offered his daughters to them. That's how far he got. That's how bad he got.
Jeffrey Epstein.
And God was trying to make a point with him that, I'm telling you, there is no good soul there. But Lot kept having compassion for the city, and he kept trying to do the thing, which is an honorable thing on some level, okay? God wasn't trying to punish him for that. He was trying to just clarify to him, I know what I'm doing. These are not godly people. They do not want me. They're so far gone. They have no interest in me. These are bad people. I cannot save them. Okay?
So he puts them in hell for eternity.
Yeah, well, we're going back to what I was saying earlier. Yeah. So these people, the city got burnt down. Lot was given the chance to leave the city with his family. As he was leaving, his wife could not let go of all that she had there, all the riches, all the culture, all the stuff that she got attached to. And so instead of looking to where God was directing her, she was looking back at the city, and she turned to stone. Okay? His daughters ended up going with him, and they ended up staying in a cave that was close by because they had no other refuge. And these daughters were so corrupt at this point that they got Lot drunk, their father, and decided to have sexual relations with them to give him more seed, to give him more offspring. This is how bad it got. I know it sounds ridiculous.
Is this in the Bible or?
Yes.
Yeah.
I know this sounds ridiculous on some level, but if you can't think of anything now, probably good on you. But open your eyes, think of this story, and look at some of the stuff that you hear about out there. All the disgusting things.
I mean, Pornhub, yeah. Like
that's how
stepbrother, stepsister.
There you go. That's how bad stuff can get. And this is what I'm saying, and this is what I'm talking about. That city was so corrupt, it was so sinful, that a truly godly man walked his family into that, and because he wasn't strong enough, because he tried doing something without God, that's a key element too. He tried having this relationship with the city without God.
So was he even godly in the first point?
He was. He was, but this is what, and that's why he didn't go to hell. Lot did not go to hell. Okay, but he tried to save these people that would not be saved. Okay, if you've ever had an alcoholic or somebody like that in your family, or somebody that just hates you, you'll truly know what it's like to not be able to save somebody, no matter what you do, and that is what God does to people that go to hell. He can't save them. They won't let him.
But there's no like grace period, and correct me if I'm wrong, like you grew up not believing in Jesus, you had blue hair, nipple piercings.
Right.
What if you got murdered as a
More than
peanut?
that?
Yeah, well, yeah, what if you got murdered before you found Jesus?
Well, that wouldn't, I wouldn't have gone to hell, because before, when I was 12, I got saved. I had
You got saved at 12?
yeah, I can't remember what religion they were. They were a form of Christianity. They weren't the same kind of Christianity I am, but the important
Mormon.
part, they weren't Mormon. no white collar, no white short sleeve and tie. Okay, they weren't Mormon. They were a form of Baptist Christian, but there are variations. It doesn't matter. The bottom line is they opened up the Bible. They showed me what I had to do to go to heaven. And at that point in my life, in my 12-year-old heart, I truly believed them. Okay, 100%, without a doubt. And I believed them so much that I asked for Jesus to come in my heart and save me that day. Now, I did not live in a good Christian environment. So I went inside, and there's another parable that talks about being seeds thrown on the wrong path. Okay, a sower sowed seeds. If he throws them one of the parts talks about seeds being thrown into a thorny bush. Okay, so it's talking about a bad environment. The sunlight can't get through it. It's thorny. It's a bad place. The seeds can't grow. That's what happened to me. I couldn't grow. I got the seed planted, but I couldn't grow from there. And then later on, down the line, when I met my wife and I found this church, I was able to grow again. So I was saved. I would have gone through all that, and I still would have gone to heaven by my beliefs.
Let's move on from this a little bit.
Okay.
No, all good.
Yeah. So,
and again, I'm sorry.
No,
I just want to say the one last thing is,
yeah.
I truly believe this, and I wish people could be like you guys and listen, because I know where you stand, and I know you got so many counterpoints on all this stuff, but I'm really flattered, and I'm really happy that you guys could actually listen and have a conversation with me about it. And regardless of what happens, if more people could do something like that, I mean, it just would make life so much different.
Totally. I think there's some fundamental disagreements here that we just won't be able to just agree on. There will be no compromise. Today, maybe even ever. But at least, like, we see you as a great guy. We would love to give you a medium to at least give you a chance to share some of your beliefs. Even same with us, like give us a medium to share some of our beliefs. Not trying to persuade anyone, but just to say, hey, this is our standpoint. We're gonna live and die by it.
Right.
Yeah, and I think that me and you, we're in college. We're young, right?
Totally.
I mean, that's one of my issues with this belief system, is that you act like you have it all figured out. And I'm not saying you, but religious people in general, us being young, being 22 years old, what the hell do we know about the world? Like, how in the hell do we know that what you're saying is the truth versus, what the Muslims are saying is the truth versus what the atheists are saying is the truth?
I went through all that.
We don't know anything, So right. I think that's where we're at. Like, my opinions.
You guys are 100% right there.
My opinions aren't fixed about the world. I'm in an information gathering stage.
As we should be. A complex mind isn't set on one belief. You're constantly changing.
Right. And there's Christian kids that's how they've been raised from day one. Like you were talking about the Muslim kids and all that too. Excuse me. And they got from birth, they were raised a certain way. The Amish, they send their kids out when they hit teenagers. There's a saying for what the period of time is, but they actually, I think they leave for 6 months or a year or something like that, and they let those kids go out in the world, and they get to make the decision whether or not they want to come back and live with the Amish or stay out there. But if they choose to stay out there, they're completely ostracized. They cannot go back ever. They can't even talk to the family. Don't believe in that. I think that's horrible. But I know why they do it, because they think that the people should have the opportunity to see what's out there and make their decision. And I think all kids should. Like, I'm doing everything I can to raise my kids the way in my beliefs. And my daughter, she's an adamant Christian. She's probably a better Christian than I am, and that was the goal. But I'm fully aware that when she moves out of my house, she's going to do whatever she wants to some level.
Yeah.
But she's going to still respect me, and she's still going to respect my beliefs, and regardless of what happens, which I don't have any doubt, but regardless of what happens, I know she'll always have respect for that.
Could you be wrong about your faith?
Yes.
So yeah.
Yes, of course I could be wrong.
So it could all be
just as much as yes. I think it would be the most complicated. It would be so hard to do this. Okay, to the point where, now that I'm on this other side of the fence and I've seen all the details and I've lived all the details, I don't think it's possible. But I am well aware that yes, I could be wrong,
but it's faked, right? Is that
part? Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, we've had this conversation on a work day, and you brought up the $10,000 bill. Do you remember this conversation about the $10,000 bill?
The $1 million bill.
Was it the $1 million bill?
Doesn't matter, but yeah.
Well, it's a difference, because there's no such thing as a $1 million bill.
Didn't I tell you to look it up?
Yeah. So you asked me, do you know that do you believe in a $10,000 bill? And I was like, Rich, no, there's no such thing as a $10,000 bill. And he's like, look it up. And I looked it up, and there is an actual $10,000 bill that you can use.
So what does this have to do with God and faith?
Do you remember what the relation was to that?
If you have faith in the $10,000 bill. I didn't believe it, but then once I saw that there's a $10,000 bill, I believed in the $10,000 bill. But what prevented me from believing in the $10,000 bill before? $10,000 bill always existed, but in my mind, I never believed in it. Why?
He strongly didn't believe in it. But he thought I was a fool for even thinking it existed.
There's a lot of things that people think exist that doesn't exist.
And
so that's not like an art.
It's not groundbreaking. It wasn't like, I hope I'm staying in the shot. It wasn't this big groundbreaking thing. It's not like it's the most incredible. It's not like it's the most incredible thought. But that's not what the point was. The point was, in his frame of mind, it got him out of his shell a little.
Yeah.
In that moment, it made him see that just because he doesn't believe something's true, it doesn't mean it doesn't still exist.
Yeah.
And even though I know he already knew that, when you get it brought to you in a certain light, it still opens your knowledge on that subject even more. It makes you grow on it.
Yeah. I think that's one of the fundamental pieces of life is you don't know what you don't know.
Right. Peanut butter and jelly have always existed. Okay. Yeah, and one day somebody slapped that sucker together and was like, my God.
True, yeah.
It's good analogy.
What you see is all there is.
Right.
You can never see what you don't see. So you don't know what you don't know. And maybe there's...
But that's what we're doing here. We're talking about it. You guys always cracked me up when I was at work and we were having these discussions. And it's because I enjoyed watching your minds grow. It's still watching it grow. I enjoy seeing you guys go through all these what does it all matter point in your life. Sometimes people never get out of that, and some people like me, they do. They get to a point where they feel pretty confident. But that's also the other thing. I feel very confident about it. I'm fully aware that down the line my thoughts can change on this, and that things can change if things are shown to me. There could
be a peanut butter and jelly out there that you don't see.
$10,000 bill that I don't know about.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's what I'm saying. Like have an open mind. Always thirst for knowledge. Don't stop learning, because life is going to get so boring if you do. You guys said in one of your interviews, I can't remember which one you were saying it, contentment is boring.
Contentment is death.
Death.
I said, yeah.
My bad. Okay, but death is pretty boring.
Yeah. Do nothing.
You really kind of do nothing.
Well,
so.
according to you, we go to heaven for eternal life, so that's
Or
not
hell.
boring. I wouldn't call that boring. I'm calling it.
I agree. But you get my. I took what I took from what you said though was I completely agreed with it. Was because if you get to that point where you don't learn anymore, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, you're the same as dad.
What are you gonna do?
Exactly.
Seriously,
You need the pain.
You need the pain.
you got to have those down moments so you can have the up moments.
Because pain tells you something's wrong. Therefore, you need to go do something about it.
Well, where do you guys feel? What do you guys feel like you're at in this life? Why are you doing this podcast? What do you want to do? Do you have a goal with this right now?
I think, like we said earlier, I think it would probably be somewhat near the same answers. We're just trying to figure it out. But I know that it's better to do something than nothing. And I think a lot of people get in this state where they have like infinite possibilities in front of their future, and they get in like this coma where they don't know what to pick.
Totally.
And I think we were like, we don't know really what to do. We kind of want to do something together. We're only going to live together once. Let's just start a podcast and see what happens.
I'll even dumb it down. Like, are you ever in your kitchen with your wife and you're like, I have a great invention, and you pitch it to her and she's like, Shark Tank worthy, let's do it. But you guys never do it. That's kind of what happened with the podcast, where we just kind of pitched it to each other, and then we were like, let's just do it.
Yeah, no, I admire you guys for doing that, because don't lose that. Okay, if you can hold on to that your whole life, do it. Don't get to that point where you're afraid to do something, or your insecurities talk you out of it. Just jump in. The water will be cold, but you'll get used to it. And
yeah,
I mean I was glad to see that you guys were doing this. I was a little confused though, because I could have sworn that you told me before that you guys already had one.
We don't talk about that other podcast.
Okay, all right.
We did have one back in high school.
It's like you having your wife and then talking about like an ex-girlfriend. Can't do that.
Okay, well no, I
can't do that.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
I think that
I was confused when you told me. That's all.
I think you gave good advice though.
Yeah.
I think this world is scary, and people sometimes get lost and that fear, and they don't do anything.
Right.
You just got to go do things. I mean, there's a famous quote: "The world is ran by people who do things, and they employ people who don't do things." I don't know, something like that. That it sounds so much better if I had it on the tip of my tongue. But you just got to do things. Like that's the fundamental truth. Get out of your bed and do something. Even if it's like the wrong thing, at least you're doing something, and then you'll see the world from a different angle, and it'll lead you somewhere else.
Be decisive.
But if you're not doing anything, you're never gonna get anywhere.
Right.
So,
I heard a couple other things. If you want to throw a couple more things in here, I really liked them. Like I was saying earlier about things, I went through a hard time with stuff, and anything I could have gotten back then to like kind of help me grow and give me a positive, like sometimes all you see are those rain clouds, if I could see that sunlight peeking through during certain times, it would have helped me, be confident that it was going to show up, the clouds were going to go away at some point. I just recently heard, when you go to bed, don't focus on what went wrong, don't focus on the stuff that you got to do, the hard things, just focus on what went right that day. Okay? Like we had this podcast, we got kicked out. I could focus on that. Could focus on it being hard to make it all work or whatever. When we rescheduled all that. But no, we had a really good interview. We had a good time. I liked seeing you guys again. And I like doing this. So that's what I'm going to focus on tonight. And also, somebody put it this way, and I thought this was so cool. Happiness is a moral obligation.
It's well said.
It's not mine.
But
it's like a choice.
Yeah.
It's exactly a choice, and the reason why they said it was a moral obligation is because morally you should be concerned with the people around you and the environment you're in, And if you're happy, you're going to spread that. If you have a good attitude, you're going to spread that. And I am so negative 90% of the time that I need to do more of that. So,
that's great advice.
not mine, but it is good advice.
We still have more time?
We could get a couple more in. I'll tell her to start heading this way.
Okay.
You could probably cut it, do a little edit here. I'll tell her to go.
Yeah. Make sure that's still going. Just all right. We were good. Ooh, I got a question.
All right, hold on 1 second.
I really got most of my questions in. Just
Rich, do you mind if I hit my vape and
Go ahead.
yeah, I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay.
Do you want to just check the camera real quick, just to
Yeah.
make sure it's still rolling?
I saw it blinking a second ago.
It's still on?
There's a square, not a circle.
There's a square.
Yeah.
Don't scare me, Rich.
Yeah.
Are you kidding right now?
Yeah, it's a square.
Yeah, we're good.
Yeah. Square, not a circle.
Sit down, too. We're
Sit
good.
down. In your
Did you see his?
All right, we're good. We're good. All right. I got a good question, though.
All right, go ahead.
I got a good question. How do I want to frame this? Okay. Tell me when you're ready.
Um,
Yeah, I don't know what that coughing was. My throat just like went dry for a second.
okay. Go ahead.
All right, we're back. So Donald Trump got elected in 2016,
Mm-hmm.
and Hillary Clinton said that 50% of Donald Trump's supporters were what she called deplorable.
Deplorable.
And I think that if you dive into what she was talking about, you look that Trump did well with non-educated white men.
Right.
You, by that definition, are a non-educated white man
And deplorable.
and deplorable who, tell me if I'm wrong, voted for Trump.
Oh, I did. Yeah.
What did Hillary and the elites get so wrong about Donald Trump and his supporters?
They don't know what they're talking about. She said that to make her supporters happy, make them sound like they were on the right side of the fence. Okay, it's just what you do. Just like Trump, whatever. They're disgusting. I hate him. I hate him. I hate him. You know, whatever he does.
Yeah.
It's just like, are you a Genesis? Are you a Sega fan? Are you a Nintendo fan? You know, it's just like, are you Cubs? Are you Sox? It's simple and as childish as that. She was just trying to make anybody think that if they're even thinking of going to the Trump side, you're deplorable. Okay? And Trump does the same thing. I didn't vote for Trump because I thought he was a genius, because he was the answer from God, because he was going to make this country rich again. I voted for him. First time I ever voted. First time. I don't know, what year was that again?
2016.
2016. So I was 36 years old, and that was the first time I voted. I was totally against voting because I felt there was absolutely no point. There are two sides of the same coin. Once again, I'll say that. It was part of this. They were both part of the same system. I didn't care if you went Democrat or Republican. Yes, they will say different things, but they're working for the same people. And one will just go a little that way or a little this way, okay? In my book. I'm not saying that it's fact. That's just what I felt.
So what was it about Trump that made you vote for the first time?
He wasn't in their system. I'm not saying he wasn't a part of this system at all, but he wasn't in their system. He did not need their money. He did not get... I'm not saying he took money or any of that stuff. He did not need their money. They could not buy him. And the little anarchist that was a punk when he was 18 could not wait to see that wrench get thrown in that machine. That's why I voted for him. It wasn't because I loved him. I couldn't stand him. I think he's obnoxious on some level, okay?
Totally.
And he has no idea what it's like to be blue collar. He doesn't. I'm not saying he doesn't care or any of that stuff. I have no idea what's in that orange head, okay? I don't hate him though either. Like,
Yeah.
But-
He can't be bought. He's not a politician.
Yes, the bottom line, and he's obviously not a politician because
Which is
of all
a
the
huge
wonderful
benefit.
things that he said.
Totally.
And I'm not saying he said wonderful things. It's just,
Sarcasm.
I knew, because people will need that, because I know that he was not bought, he wasn't in their system, and that when he got in, everything was going to change if he did. Was I wrong?
You weren't wrong.
That was probably the most explosive presidency I have ever seen in my entire life. And some will say it was the worst thing that's ever happened. Some will say it's the greatest thing that ever happened, that he was the best president we ever had. I will just simply say it messed everything up.
And he opened a lot of people's eyes to a lot of people who are struggling, who feel forgotten.
Right.
You know? So I think if he did anything, he did that. And must we also mention he kept us out of all wars. And I mean, if we were to get into the, I think that's the best part of his presidency.
There are good things that he did. I think he did a good job with our economy. I think that regardless of what he feels for blue collar people, he knows that if he doesn't have blue collar people happy, if he doesn't have the middle class happy, he's not going to have a country. He's not going to have a system that actually runs the way it does. And when he was saying make America great again, it wasn't a racist campaign to get rid of everything that isn't white. He was saying that going back to the day where we could all live on an income and not be in this owe the world. He's one of the only presidents that I saw that fully admitted how bad we are in debt to everyone else, and that we need to get out of that. Okay. He also made a law that you go to jail when you hurt animals. For all you PETA people out there, that I'm pretty sure most of them didn't like Trump, but he did do that for you guys. But he did some things I didn't like either. I think, if I remember correctly, I think he started trying to privatize internet, and he was trying to, instead of you having one ISP, you were going to have to buy services like Netflix is a streaming service. You were going to have to do that with the internet on a whole. You were going to have to buy a Google service, which was going to monopolize things like it is in corporate business right now, which is a horrible nightmare. It'll ruin the internet, ruin it. And I don't know how far that got, but I heard that was the goal at some point. Maybe I misunderstood it.
What do you see as the future of our nation? Obviously, we're so divided. We have an upcoming presidential election, and looking like it's going to be Trump and Biden again. I mean, just what is the fate of America? Short term, medium term, long term?
I don't know. So many people the media and the politicians have done such a good job at dividing us. I remember when the candidates would get on the podium and they would throw cracks at each other and they would laugh at it. Okay? And the mentality of a lot of people was, if you're a Democrat, you're a Democrat. If you're a Republican, you're a Republican. I mean, of course, there's always extreme versions. Yeah. But the mass majority were able to just deal with the fact that people were different.
Didn't split households.
Yeah, exactly. You didn't have a daughter cursing their father to hell because he was a Republican or he was a Democrat or whatever. You know, it didn't come to that most of the time. I mean, there was a little bit of that.
Yeah.
But now the media they're the nightmare. Okay, they are the nightmare. And they're all bought and paid for.
Well, yeah.
If you don't know that, you are so clueless.
And I think the issue is they have to make money.
Right.
So to make money, they play the things that grab attention, right? Because
controversial.
They're in the advertising business, so they have to sell ads.
That's part of it. The other part is they got a boss that's telling them what to say.
Yeah. And I would say to say the most controversial things, the most divisive things, right? If it bleeds, it leads.
Yes.
If it divides, finish it.
It survives.
It doesn't survive. I didn't know what the end was. I was hoping you would save me.
Well, that kind of did.
Yeah.
If it divides, it survives. There you go.
But to kind of go back to your question about where I think we're going, maybe it's the pessimist in me, but I don't see how if all right, let's put it this way. If it just keeps going the way it's going, I cannot see how you can blindly think that we're on some kind of incline. If things keep happening the way they're happening, I mean, even if it goes up for a while, okay? If Trump gets elected and you're one of the people that are happy about that, and he does fix things and he does do things that, in your opinion, is good, okay? There's always that other side that's going to hate it. But it's going to be like this, but it's going to be like this. In my book, it might have ups and downs. And what I mean by that, I know you guys are itching.
All right now.
I know
you can see
I
both
can
of
see
us.
you're like, hold on. What I'm trying to say is that I don't think everything's going to be terrible, okay? But I do think that the media has done such a bad job at ripping us apart. I think just the average common person on the street is just going to get manipulated more.
Is this the most divided we've ever been?
I feel like it has.
So, I hate to bring up, but correct me if I'm wrong, 1861 was the start of the Civil War, where there was bloodshed, there was bloodshed.
That's a good point. You're right. Okay, so this might not be the worst it's ever been.
Exactly, and
It
we've
goes in
survived it.
peaks and valleys, right?
Yeah, we survived
No,
that.
you're absolutely right. That's a very
You can't have a rainbow without a little rain.
right, and it goes back to kind of what we were talking about earlier about how things are you're gonna see those rain clouds and you're gonna see sunshine.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna kind of go off that a little bit. Do you think the majority of the division is it between Republicans and Democrats, or is it between rich and poor, or is it between one religion or the other religion, or is it between black and white?
I think the biggest divide, the two sides that stand out on top of all that is the powerful and the powerless. Whether it's a white person that's privileged and has all the the cards in the deck, or you take an immigrant that has absolutely nothing, like you guys interviewed the other day. All right, who do you think is going to win at anything? All right, and it's not because it's a white versus a foreign immigrant. It's because one has power and the other doesn't. If you don't have power, you cannot play the game that's out there.
So then the hypothetical solution to that is
Vote communism.
communism, right? You make everyone equal. You don't have that hierarchy. And is that the answer?
Yes, you do, because the people controlling that communist hierarchy or society has the power.
And I'm completely against communism, just hypotheticals, just to make that
But
clear.
that's where no, that's a good point, because that's where they always go. It's
so what do we do? What's the answer then? Like, how do we alleviate that division?
Well, there's little things we could do. I mean, we could go all night. We could go another 12 hours with this. But you could do little things, okay? And one little thing that you can do, because I don't have all the answers. And that's the thing. We need everybody on board.
That's why free speech is so important, so we can actually have these conversations.
Exactly. We need
without being censored.
100%.
Mark Zuckerberg.
Well, not Trebek. What's the Canadian guy?
Justin Trudeau.
Trudeau. That's it. Okay.
I mean, it's insane.
You hear what he's doing with that?
No, what?
I don't know if it's already happened or if it's in effect or whatever, but they're regulating the internet feeds on what they deem worthy or honest or true and not true.
I heard if you misgender someone, you can be.
It might be something along those lines. I'm not sure what the details are, but they are. Regardless, at the end of the day, they're filtering the.
We always think that like authoritarianism and tyranny and totalitarianism is like so far into the past. And then
Jordan Peterson, listen to him, man.
I do.
Makes such a good point about that.
It's here,
but
it's here. Wake up! They are trying to not allow us to be able to do what we're doing right now.
Right.
And I mean, this is how you get to the truth: is you need differing opinions. Me and Rich agree very little on religion, but us sitting here and talking about it is how we make any progress, or else we're just going to stay divided and hating each other the rest of our lives, and we're going to devolve into anarchy and chaos.
See, look at the stuff that we do have in this country. Look at the stuff that they wrote in, and look at how much good that it does already, okay? One of the reasons why we settled here was freedom of religion, okay? And the fact that we could talk about it and not be persecuted and not be shot the next day because we disagree is one of those freedoms. So there is a lot of good stuff this country has at the base, okay?
Yeah.
But there's so many people that are trying to control those and filter them. Illinois, I think it was Illinois, just recently, okay? If you live in Illinois, you know what the gun laws and everything are like. They're one of the most strictest in the nation, but yet Chicago is literally the top of the list on gun violence. Literally. This year alone, I think it's over 3,000 that have been killed so far or shot, whether it's death or
It's like 13 a day.
It's ridiculous, okay? But we have the strictest gun laws. What they have done recently, because Illinois has a ban on high-capacity magazines, and they've got a whole list of guns that are illegal. It started October 7th, and beginning of October. So anything that fell on this list, you are not supposed to be able to own. Okay, you have to register it if you have it. They literally changed the definition of an AR-15 so that you couldn't have it, to counter the lawsuit that was going after this, because the lawsuit was saying that this is totally against our rights.
Yeah.
And their counter was to redefine the definition of an AR-15, that it's not a gun.
It's not a gun?
Yes.
Oh my gosh. So anyone who thinks that tyranny is a thing of the past, it's right here. And I mean, I totally agree with you. The founding principles that this nation was founded on are beautiful, and those are what we need to preserve. Freedom of speech, freedom of religion, the right to protest, the right to say whatever is on your mind, the right to own a gun. I mean, this country was founded on freedom, but we see, tinkering in the shadows, totalitarianism and tyranny.
How do you think that they were able to pass a law like that or counter something like that? What did they have what do they think they have that we don't?
Well,
That's what I said earlier.
I also think we live
Yeah.
but they're voted in. I think there are a lot of Americans.
We gave them the power.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why we need to.
You reap what you sow.
Well, you got to realize as an American that you have the privilege to put those people in power, and that you really got to think about who you're putting in power.
But doesn't that contradict what you said about how you didn't vote before?
No, not in my eyes. I know there's some people that probably agreed that was a total contradiction, but it doesn't. I literally, by me doing that in my eyes, I was taking power away from the ones that just have the system rigged already. By throwing Trump in that mix, I was making them powerless. I gave him power, and I wasn't sure about that, but I'm so fed up with what they've done with their power, with years and years and years that Biden has been in office, that he complains that all the things or he's told to complain about all the things that are going wrong with this country. Why hasn't he fixed any of it since the 70s? Why hasn't he changed any of it? Why hasn't anybody in that cabinet or anybody on that side of the aisle or the right aisle, I don't care which one, why haven't any of them changed some of the terrible, most worst things that we got going on in this country so far? It's because it keeps them in power.
Well, I think our founding fathers obviously put 3 branches of government for a reason. They wanted
to check and balance.
They're supposed to check and balance, but it's also because I think you want to delegate the power across as many different people as possible.
Right.
Because if you look at history, I mean, one person gets in charge, it's whatever the hell that person wants. So I think one possible pro-American reason why a lot of things don't get done is because the system is in some ways designed for that, because we're scared of that history and tyranny.
And they're and each side of the fence is always going to do what they can to make them have more power, whether it's rig laws, do things illegally, convince voters to vote for them. They're always going to do that. And to sit there and stand on one side of it and think that the other one is evil entirely and that you are on the side of good is a little ignorant. I do think that the values on the right align with me more, but I'm not clueless and think that these people are innocent. I mean, there's so many things that they have done and will probably do that won't benefit me.
But isn't it all just like, we're all humans, even these politicians, we're all eternally flawed, we all sin. So like, I hear this argument all the time. If you go on social media, everyone's like, oh, these politicians are so corrupt, blah, blah, blah. There's corruption everywhere. We're all humans. And that's why I think, the American government was built with this knowledge. And they try to mitigate those flaws as much as possible by delegating the power to as many people as possible.
Right.
Why don't we just vote for another party? Right? We see party changes happen all over American history. Like someone that votes libertarian. Why not vote for Joe Jurgensen?
It was on the
Go Joe.
It's on the ballot, but And see, that's I hate that too. I agree with you. I hate it that there is third options. There are other options, but they never gain momentum.
They slowly.
Well, I'm not saying
takes time.
it could, but
they're humans too, right? I mean, are they the Jesus Christ coming to save the American government?
But it's something, like you said, something about the Libertarian Party that I think is so crucial right now is that they want almost no government. They want almost all privatized, and that's something that you probably don't all agree with.
You
Right.
can't.
But they want little, but they want as little as government as possible. As Ben Shapiro would put it, and I agree with it, is the government should be like your plumber. You would call him when
Yeah.
you need him, but he shouldn't be living in your house.
exactly. Yeah, I've heard him say, and I agree with that. And
Yeah.
you know what's unfortunate? I couldn't tell you 100% where the libertarians sit on the ballot, where their values lie, and it's because one, I'm lazy and I don't want to spend any time on it. Okay, I got stuff to take care of.
Totally.
Right. Two, because of that, the path of least resistance
Yep.
makes me only listen to what gets filtered to me. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, it's only the right and the left that I hear, So that's all I know. And there is a part of me that wants to build on that and learn more about, the liberal side, libertarian side, because I just hear that word liberal nowadays and I'm not too thrilled about it. But I don't know exactly what the political side of it, what that party and what a representative of that party can do.
Do you like your life? Do you want to keep your life?
Yes.
Oh, libertarians.
But no, but you're also a benefactor of. Hold on, you're also a benefactor of being in a union,
Yes.
and
I know.
So
What was I talking to you about?
no, me and you had to talk about
Yeah,
that
that's
one
what it
time.
was. Yeah.
And I mean, unions have been traditionally extremely liberal. I mean, that's workers' rights, right? That's
Well,
taking money away from the greedy capitalists.
There's stuff that they talk about that I couldn't disagree with more. But and I see, and I wonder sometimes how much of that is them actually truly believing in what they're saying, and how much of that is them playing the game. Because they're on the Democrat side, they have to be. So
Are you talking about the local 11, the roofing?
not just local 11.
I would say
all
local 11
unions.
is actually, I would say, fairly.
But see, no. I'm happy with them. I'm happy with what they've done to my family. I'm talking about more like the personal things that they're like. They push Pritzker. Okay, I can't stand Pritzker. Pritzker. I'm sorry. What was I saying? Pritzker.
Yeah. And instead of a K.
Yeah. Okay. I don't like him. I don't like his laws. I don't like his ideas. I don't like anything that he's done. But see, this is why we were talking about earlier how it is important to delegate that power between multiple people and multiple parties, because thinking that you should be on one side entirely is stupid. It's limiting.
They balance each other out,
Right,
Which
and
I think is good. I mean,
I guess it's a cherry picking convenience for me to say, well, I'm all Republican until it becomes to my paycheck. Then I want the Union Democratic side. But I live in America, and they gave me that opportunity to do that.
Yeah.
So, people are going to take the best chance that they got.
Yeah.
I did not go to college. I didn't have the funds to go to college. I had one shot, and because of my dysfunction and laziness, I blew that shot. And then I started in my adult life with my family, and I just didn't see I didn't want to take the risk of trying to build something bigger, so I went to something that I could easily attain. And that's, one of the reasons why blue collar people get into the positions that they get into is because of stuff like that. But I'm not blaming that on anybody, you know.
But you do that, and you sacrifice your almost hopes and dreams for your kids to have that potentiality, to have more options, right?
Yeah, that's love.
That's awesome.
Everybody asks what the definition of love is. Sacrifice.
Marrying the person you hate.
As you said it earlier.
There we go.
It's sacrifice.
Isn't that the archetypical behemoth of Christianity, though, too? Like sacrifice, like Jesus sacrificed for our sins, right? Yeah. Yeah.
I think you guys are both saying the same thing.
Yeah, makes sense, doesn't it?
How many times are you going to
He
say
kind
that?
of said he loved us. That's
Yeah.
why he created us, was out of love. So what does he do? He sacrifices himself.
Yeah.
Now, I know that you could argue about all kinds of little things in there, but with that, that's not me just pulling that definition because of Christianity. It's because I believe that because I live it. I see the sacrifices that I've made for my family, and I know the sacrifice I will take for my family. And every time I don't do one of those sacrifices that end up hurting my family, I feel awful about it. I feel like I feel like I failed them. So
Yeah.
that's why I could honestly say, if you really want to know if you love something or someone, and it doesn't have to be someone, it can be something. You love baseball.
Yeah.
You sacrifice a lot to play it.
Totally.
And there's nothing wrong with that. That is a genuine love for something. And there's nothing wrong with loving something like that. Because you can get something out of that, and you have the ability to do it. So do it. But you can apply that to people as well. And when you sacrifice things for them, you know that it's like a representation of what you are willing to do for that. And if that doesn't explain or show you how much you love something, I don't know what else can. It's love in action in some ways, in my opinion. I mean, I would lay down my life for my family.
As any man should.
I believe that, yeah.
And I think that's one of the issues with like modern day liberal ideology is a lot of them are not grounded in religious belief. So they're not taught some of these lessons, and they don't have these same values of sacrifice. So when you don't sacrifice for something bigger than yourself or from something else, the only thing you're worried about is yourself in the short term, and you chase whatever, pleasure puts itself in front of you in the moment, and that's how you live your life. And I think that's not a good way to live. I think it's much more fulfilling to live the life you're living, where you're sacrificing, you're working hard, you're not happy all the time, you're not feeling pleasure all the time.
That's life.
Exactly. So, I mean, I think that's a much more fulfilling life. Would you agree?
There's a lot. Well, yeah, but I think there's a lot of liberal people out there that are looking just for as much love as me or anybody else. Like I said, to pull it back, you pull back all the political beliefs, you pull back all the religion, you pull back everything. If you could still look at another human in the eye and realize that they're just the same as you realize that most of us still want the same thing.
Yeah.
We just want to be happy. We just want some kind of love. Okay. And if you are the type of person like you're talking about, where all you care about is yourself, you don't know what love is. You just don't.
Yeah.
And you can't feel something that's not there. So and that's where all that messy stuff. That's why that old saying is, you go to a bar, you don't talk about politics or religion or any of that stuff, because people get so what? People get so.
All I talk about.
Yeah, I know.
They get so violent about it. I mean,
yeah,
it happens. I'm sure it's happened to you.
Yeah.
No, certainly. And
if you want to play it safe, keep your mouth shut and say hi. But
pronouns.
If you want to pull the type of person that is willing to risk things, you bring it up. Okay? That's just the status quo to not do that stuff. That's if you don't want to cause any waves. But if you want to cut the crap and just find who's real in here, you bring that stuff up.
Yeah,
you'll find it out.
If they get offended, they're not for you. If they want to talk about it, even debate you, they might be the one.
It's well put. Well put.
How do you feel?
You got any questions for us?
What kind of boss do you want to be?
Ooh. So let's add some context. So Carson's dad currently owns a roofing company that Rich works for. Carson
I'm a little invested.
Carson is going to take over that company in a couple of years when his dad retires. So Carson is going to be Rich's boss.
Yeah.
So
I mean, no.
How do you think it works?
So that is, I mean, in a hierarchy standpoint, yes. I mean, to a certain extent,
or any standpoint.
But and a point that I really want to emphasize
on the spot
that I really don't want. I'm not trying to rustle some feathers, but at another thing that I might say is I'm not in the roofing business. I'm in the money business.
Right.
I have to do what's best
As
for the
you
company.
should be.
Yes. And I got to do what's best for the company. So there's not going to be like a company-wide like layoff. Like, oh, you guys are gone. Like, we need new guys. No, not at all. That's not what's going to happen.
What if the economic situation calls for that?
When would it ever call for that?
Hold on. We're not there yet.
Okay, sorry.
You're like talking about layoffs already. That's not very confident building.
No, I'm saying no one's getting laid off.
In general, maybe Christian brought you there, but I'm just talking in general. Like, what do you want your employees to think of you?
Same way that they thought of Scott.
It's good.
What type of boss are you going to be?
The type of boss is going to be like Scott. Scott, compassionate, probably looking for any job that will keep my workers busy.
Good.
Plain and simple.
You get my approval.
Do you think
matters at all? No, the reason why I asked is because obviously it's more than likely going to happen. Things could pivot. You could hit that home run a couple more good times and you're out of here. Okay? I don't know. Would you play baseball and own a roofing company at the same time?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Okay, so
I didn't know if you were talking about home run like Target. So Scott, my dad, are all of our boss. He struck the deal with Target, so we do the Target building. So that was like a literal home run. That
oh yeah,
huge, that is
for
huge
business,
profit.
you get something like that. It's definitely a home run.
Oh yeah,
but I mean. The reason why I asked originally is because how many times does an employee get an opportunity to ask their future boss that question? It's something that you are concerned about because when it's your future and you see that person in that future, you gotta, it's cliche. The boss's son or the boss's nephew or whatever is a spoiled brat that just comes in, doesn't appreciate anything, and runs the company to the ground.
Yeah, I can tell you think very highly of me.
That's not what I said about you, though. I said typical. I didn't see that. When we started working together, I didn't see that at all. Like, when I found out that you were probably going to go in that direction, I was like, all right, cool.
Do you think
I got another good boss lined up.
Do you think it's fair? And I'm not saying this is your fault, but, I mean, you're young. You've done a couple summers roofing, where someone like you has been roofing your whole life.
I'm done with the hard stuff.
You've given 20 plus years. Do you think it's fair that he gets to become boss?
Yes, 100%. I know when I was younger, if you would have asked me that question, I would have said no, because that's what I thought I should say, and I thought that that's what I should be angry about, because something's getting handed to somebody in some perspective. You could look at it as just being handed. Okay. But when somebody shows up and they don't have a house, they start with a foundation and they build on it, okay? And they sacrifice everything they can to build up those walls and that roof around it. Now they can bring their family into that house, all right? And that family can make that house better.
Yeah.
Why are they wrong for that?
Yeah. No, that's a great answer.
Why are they wrong for that?
That's
okay, if he comes in and he tries to make this house better,
yeah,
he's doing nothing wrong.
And
his father built this house along with Tim, okay, and everyone else that was involved. They all built that house together. Ryan came in. He's building the house. He's improving the house now. You can do the same thing. And as long as that's your perspective, you're going to be successful. Bottom line. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
No.
Yeah, no. And
and correct me if I'm wrong. There's two paths that say you are pissed off. Say it is unfair. It is unfair. At any point, you could start your own roofing company.
Right, and that's why I'm not allowed to not think that's fair. That's why this victim crap is ridiculous. That's the mentality of all these victim people that think everything should be handed to them. All right, I am in the position because my parents did what they did, and it got me to point B. Okay, point A was my birth, point B was me moving out and becoming my own man. After point B, I had to take everything that was given to me, everything that was done to me, and then I had to decide what I was going to do with it. I did not decide to open a roofing company.
Yeah.
That's not your fault.
No.
That's not Scott's fault. Yeah. That's not anybody's fault but me. My parents can factor into that stuff on some level, but at the end of the day, if I'm going to be a man, I have to be responsible for my actions after that. If I'm going to be a woman, I have to take responsibility for my actions. And this crap that everything should be handed to you just because you exist or because somebody did something wrong to you. There's so much crap, bad stuff that has happened to me. That does not entitle me to anything. Anything.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. I can't stand that mentality. No, but but it is important for me to know where my future lies, and your mentality going in is part of my future.
So, and I'm not taking over anytime soon. Like I said, as I started working, I want to say when I was
It'd be hilarious if you did.
You'd be out of a job in a year. Kidding.
No, I started working.
Remember that interview?
No. I started working.
Who's the boss now?
I started working when I was like 17, in between 17 and 18. And I still want to continue working, just not for the, like I said, money. The money part is great, but the more the knowledge part, like I said, I want to do everything. So this past summer, I was a part of the production, and this part of this winter, I might be on production, stuff like that. Then I get into the office part of it that I'm kind of dreading, but that comes with the territory. It's
a skill set. I think you should have every tool in the box.
Yeah.
And any of that stuff that you could get now is just going to help you later. It's also going to help you be in the mind of the people that are doing the stuff in the office or in the field. And that just makes you a better, well-rounded person and boss, in my opinion. Because, whenever I've done anything with my family or, just anything, any knowledge I could get to make me better at that, you'd be a fool not to take it. But yeah, I don't know. I go for it. and if you don't feel like it, just give it to me. It'll be fine. I'll take care of it for you.
And allow me to say one thing from being Carson's best friend for my whole life. I've known this guy. I probably know him better than anyone. His heart is in the right place. And
I could tell.
He truly cares about people. I mean, that's part of the reason why he's my best friend. So, I mean...
Unless there's somebody you're dating.
Yeah. Well, we don't need to get into that.
Jesus.
But no, his heart...
I'm sorry.
Oh my.
He truly cares about other people. And I can't say that about everyone, but he truly does. So I think Solaris is in good hands.
Good.
Yeah.
Excellent. Let's put a bow on it.
Hey. Rich, thanks for doing this.
No problem. Thank you guys for coming by. I appreciate it.
Oh,
I had a lot of
Like
fun.
and subscribe. Boom.